Hi everyone, this is Bhavish and welcome back to the series of Alumni of the Week. So this time we have Shreyansh Somanshi with us. Hey Shreyansh, how are you doing?
Hey, hi Bhavisha. Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me here.
Glad to have you. So a quick intro about Shreyansh. So Shreyansh comes from the background of civil engineering from IIT Delhi. He completed his graduation and now he's working as a senior product manager with Drip Capital. So moving ahead, let's get to know more about Shreyansh from Shreyansh himself. Over to you, Shreyansh.
Thanks, Bhavisha. Exactly my trajectory, right? Pretty simple. I started off as an engineering graduate in IIT Delhi. 4 years were awesome. By the end of the fourth year, you have this campus placement exercise, and somehow I landed up fortunately onto a PM role with ICICI Bank. So that was my first stint. So came back to Mumbai, which is my hometown, where I stay. And it was a 2 year stint at ICICI at time, which is pretty exciting because I was into the payment space. And at that time, UPI was up and coming. So I got to see UPI from the inside, how it was going to grow. So that was a great time to be with ICICI. And then post 2 years, I was trying to move out of to a smaller company. So I was trying my hands out on startup environment and see what opportunities lie there. But still trying to be around the financial space because that's what I kind of liked. So Drip Capital came along, which is a trade finance company, and I've been here for 3.5 years now. So I transitioned to as a PM role in Drip Capital in 2019, and since then been here. So pretty simple.
Awesome, awesome. And like amazing trajectory. I mean, from civil engineering background to a PM role in a finance vertical, right? I mean, and it's amazing. So initially, you as soon as you got to know about, being a product manager in ICICI Bank, as you said. So like, what were your initial sort of interacting with this, terminology as a product manager? What do you think you started doing it? Being in finance or be it on a narrative, a plain narrative of being a product manager. So what things you started doing at first?
Yeah, it was a new experience for me. I think when I joined back in 2017, PM role in India wasn't as big as it is today. So it was new as to what responsibilities are there for this role. ICICI gave me that responsibility very clearly. So they gave PMs ownership on what their platforms were. So I started off with IMPS, moved over to UPI at the end of my time there, but was closely linked with all the payment platforms. During that time, it was what helped me with ICICI is that ICICI is a big bank. So they have a lot of partners that they interact with. So like Paytm, Google, Flipkart, etc. And I was in constant interaction with them almost every week. So those conversations help me understand what that ownership looks like, what we need to deliver for customers, for small or big. And that was a learning experience of what a PM role looks like at any company, right? So how to take ownership, how to drive things forward, and make your customers happy. So those were pretty seamless learning experiences, but that could have only happened just because of the background ICICI had and the scale they have.
Okay. So while you were going through this whole process of getting into the process of getting into PM, so one or two specific hurdles that came along, let others also know, like what were the hurdles that you think, not hurdles, but places where you sought help and you working on yourself. Okay, I need to work on these elements or these verticals, being a PM.
Yeah, I think one thing that people like me who are not from a computer science background, for example, or haven't had hands-on tech experience to show, and they transition into a PM role, it sometimes becomes difficult to how can they bring value to the table, right? And what is expected out of them. So for me, what helped was I was always interested in technology in general. So I was curious about what's happening in the world and how people go about things. So that helped me in initial conversations in my PM role in ICICI and also in Drip Capital. But the gap of understanding was still there, like how information flow happens between platforms, what does an API look like and at scale, and how the systems work at scale, how do customers work at scale, and how to service them. So all those things, how I there was something very evident to me in like a couple of weeks that I need to be upskilled on. So I ended up learning, not learning, but reading a lot of articles basically of what these are, listening to YouTube videos and general information around general technology solutions that exist and how they work on the backend side. So that's where I think my role has also progressed to understand how this whole infrastructure of the new age tech works. And that opinionated answer, that opinions that I had on how we should go about solutions, how we should incorporate these existing approaches to this problem that we are facing in the business, kind of help bring value that I was thinking to bring to the table, right? So all my background knowledge and gathering of this day-to-day curiosity just around technology helped me overcome that challenge of how to bring value to the table.
Awesome, awesome. So, as you mentioned, reading a lot about, around the role and around the responsibilities. So, any specific newsletter or a book or any article that you still keep reading, or you follow? So,
Yeah, I think nothing very specific that I follow. I generally am not a very avid reader or like very following an author or something. I generally pick up what I like and then read something and then go to the next thing, next big thing. I think there's one book that I started off with, which is called Swipe to Unlock. That's a very simple book written by product managers to just give a sense of how a simple thing like an internet works or how a simple thing like cryptocurrency works, right? And that was my first first avenue towards breaking those abstract ideas into actual solutions, right? How these things actually look like. So, and that has helped me to just break fundamentals into my day to day.
definitely. So, and one more thing I was wondering, like, if you can throw some light upon, like, already you dealt with the whole vertical of being a PM coming from a non-tech background, and I'm pretty sure if you're working in a finance side, so I mean, you must definitely enrich yourself into the finance elements, like, the whole vertical of being finance. So, how did you get your head wrapped around the finance side as well? Because parallelly, you are dealing with being a product manager from non-tech and then into the finance, because finance in itself, there are so many regulations, government regulations and scenarios are there. So yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting. I don't think I'm still avid in finances. I think I'll take much more time to be
Yeah.
an expert per se in this space.
Mm.
But what has worked for me is similar to the approach that I had for just understanding technology. I ended up reading a lot, right, from different places. One thing that also helped me was during my engineering, I was interested in finance in general just to increase the scope of my knowledge. So I had taken up some courses during that time. And during the campus placement exercise as well, I was trying to understand finance in general because a lot of companies want that as an extra skill set, right, to
Right.
be able to get a role. So that had helped me during that early phase. But post that, learning on the job has been the major driver of my right now what I know about finance. But yes, just reading about what it is, and how are things changing in finance world, how people make decisions based on the numbers that you see running around or throwing up in the newsletters or newspapers, etc., help
Right.
me to understand the background behind all them.
Yeah, all right. So moving ahead, I mean, while you were already being a PM with ICICI Bank, what was the time, like, how you came across Hello PM, and then what led you to get in Hello PM? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think when I joined HelloPM, it was almost a year into Drip Capital, and I kind of thought that this is a good time to upskill, not only through learning on the job and just executing on problems, but also from the community in general. So that time, HelloPM was something that I got in touch with. Ankit was the person who I got in touch with at that time. He spoke to me before I ended up getting added to the cohort, and it was a good conversation. He helped me understand what Hello PM will bring to the table for me to grow as a PM, and
Mm.
it eventually was that. So I joined Hello PM with the idea of just upskilling myself, see what others are doing, what Ankit and team can help me understand, or but maybe break some biases. Right, it's very important
Right.
to think from scratch and have a clean slate when you're learning, and having a cohort based learning program helped me go into that zone of trying to be clean slate and learn as much as I can as a student.
Okay, awesome. So while going through this whole process, as you said, like upskilling, or maybe what HelloPM is bringing on the table, any specific element that you think worked for you specifically, like be it capstone or hands-on project, or maybe working out with tools, or
Yeah, I think there is this fundamental thought principle of trying to think in user journeys. So in product management, it's pretty, whenever you're trying to approach a problem, it's important to break the problem into minor steps. And that minor steps come from trying to trace back how a user would interact with your either the feature or the platform or whatever you're building. So that fundamental way of solving every problem, maybe user is not involved, maybe it's a back-ended system solution, or maybe it's a user-based feature problem statement as well. Just having a journey mindset to everything helped me gain an insight on plugging the gaps that I thought I used to have when I'm designing solutions before. So this has helped me a lot in trying to be exhaustive as a problem solver in general, right? And trying to see everything from all the angles because you're trying to map the journey and all the edge cases around that. So that tool has helped me, that thinking process. Capstone project, I think the first assignment in HelloPM was to just write an article of what would you do in the first 30 days or 45 days of joining a new company. And
right.
whatever I wrote, Ankit had like 10 feedback points in that. And I really clearly understood, oh, there's a lot of learning now, opportunity here. There's a
Okay.
lot of things that I need to plug. And all these sessions just help me plug those gaps.
Okay. All right. So moving ahead, what would your suggestion would be for all the aspiring PM, those people who are making one shift from another career, another stream of career to the stream of PM, and another one who are like fresh graduates or freshers who are entering into the field of product managers. So what would be your
Yeah.
advice on this? Yeah.
Maybe I can start with freshers because that's where it's new for them. I think for freshers, I'm not sure what the direct channel of getting a PM role is. It's varied from industry to industry. Sometimes you have to go out of the way to apply on these companies, or there's a lot of internal communication that can help you grab an interview. But to whenever you get that opportunity, the mindset should be to be able to have that problem solving attitude at every stage of the journey, right? So even if you are just telling about yourself, or if you are catching up with the interviewer on small things as to how would you go about this, what's your favorite app and things like that, it should always be something that you have thought about from a problem solving angle. Why I'm saying that term again and again is it's pretty important. On the job that you do day to day, the business problems are what you're trying to solve for, right? You're working for
Yeah.
either the customer or the business, and
Definitely.
everyone who's interviewing you is just looking for how the person can think on feet, how they can think on new ideas. That is something that's not intuitive at the moment. How much broad can they think, right? And all these are just aspects of how to solve complex problems or even simple problems. So I think as a fresher, what I used to do in my college days also was sit with my friends, peer group, and just do case studies and just think about, okay, this shop is not working, what we could do to help them, right? Things like commonly having these conversations. And those conversations just help you train your muscle and gray matter in that area. So that's something that freshers should just keep on doing, be it complex problems, simple business problems, or product problems, and they'll crack it whenever they get the opportunity. In terms of transition, I think someone who's in another career, for example, say he's in marketing or analyst or anything which is maybe non-tech also. So I think there also, I guess, it's important to read on standard resources. I think HelloPM, for example, and in general, there are a lot of communities that provide standard sources to create fundamentals. So it's important to get the fundamentals right, because as an experienced professional, it's important that when you go into the interview, the expectation is that you have some idea of product management understood. So getting that standard resources being leveraged and understanding those background is important.
Yeah.
On top of that, I think creating some portfolio for what you have done before and how you have brought impact in your previous role or previous businesses that you were involved in will help create more confidence for any interviewer or any company who's trying to recruit, right? At the end, they want to see what can they bring and help us drive forward instead of just maintenance, right? And that's what product managers are for. They're for the vision of the company, and for
Yeah.
us to be confident on that person to drive the vision, it's important to show that they have executed on visions before. So being able to show it some way, either portfolio or some website, or just being very good on the resume itself will help.
Okay. So as you mentioned the topic of product portfolio, so people who are coming as a fresher, so how they can build up their portfolio maybe, or what sort of things they can do to optimize that part?
Yeah, it depends from kind of courses you're involved in, right? So if I have to take my example, if I wasn't in that space at that time, I got into product management through a channel, fortunately. But if you're trying specifically for that role and want to create something, what I would have done is shown what my work in terms of creating impact within the within my 4 years was, right? So for example, I did research work during my second year. I did created my own club in my college for 4 years and was the co-founded it for 3 years and managed it. So all those try to give a background of how you take ownership. Have you gone deep into problems and trying to solve them? How have you managed teams or being a good collaborator on things? And displaying that either through a resume or a very creative way. People are very creative these days, right? So
Right.
we can just be on, create a YouTube channel for whatever you have done before, or create a website for what, just showing what your attributes are, but displaying actual things that you did instead of what you can do, showing exactly what you did. And if you're not there yet, just spend that time, right? So if you're in your second year or third year, just think about what you can do in these coming years before applying to show yourself as a right person to make a bet on, right? And that's basically what it is.
Okay. Okay. Cool, cool, amazing. I mean, such insights. Moving ahead, talking about the products, we talked about the thought process, products, and the portfolios. So, what would be your approach as soon as you come across any product, say it any application, okay, or maybe
Hmm.
a finance product or a fintech product? So, what is your quick product tear down in your head? Like, what do you analyze first? What are the couple of things that you ask first? The questions that arises in your mind. Okay.
Yeah, I think maybe if I have to think about it, I haven't thought about it that way. I think it's subconscious now. But I think one thing that first thing that I look for in any application or a platform or anything that is trying to be a product is, if can I as a user identify what major problem is it trying to solve for me, right? So for example, if I log into, there's an app called Navi which helps us give
Yeah.
personal loans. As soon as you log in, the first thing that you see, this is your limit and this is where you can apply for a loan, right? And that's the biggest thing that you see on the screen. There's a lot of other health insurance, etc. there, but you don't see those. Now that's a great product for me, because you are directing your customers and users to the thing that you have built the platform or the product for. So is that very clear on the platform? So that's one thing that I just look for. Is it very intuitive to me to use? The second thing is basically how much they understand the user or the industry, right? So for example, if I'm a credit card user, do they understand me trying to know about hidden charges? Do they understand to me to know how many overdue exactly am I paying? And do they understand the user deeply enough, or they just want to solve the problem on the surface? I think that also comes by exploring the platform itself. So if you are a lending company, or you are a gaming platform where you are trying to just create this gamification around things,
Mm.
do you understand the users deeply enough to keep them hooked onto the platform and coming back and again and again? So
Mm.
if I would have access to metrics for those platforms, I would look at how many times the person came back again to just experience the platform, right? Maybe not use it, maybe not create revenue for the business, but just came back again to experience. That shows that there is something there for users to work with. So those are two things that I come to mind. Is it very evident what they're solving? And the second is, do they deeply understand what the user is, right? And the user behavior is from the features that they have.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. So that's really amazing. I mean, from also from a PM point of view, and also as a consumer, as soon as you start looking at application, like the thing that they want to convey, is it really
Yeah.
conveyed or not? So going ahead, as a PM, definitely you must be, testing so many hypotheses or ideas, or something that you had, right? You definitely, by the time you test. So what is your first point of implementation? I'm talking in terms of idea. Suppose if you have any idea, okay, if a person listening to this video has some idea, so what would be a PM-led approach? What would be the approach to execute on that idea? Be it starting with the feedback, or the what should a person do? A quick stepwise formula that you use, a quick go-to thing.
Yeah, I think it's not very different for a PM or any person who has an idea. I think the approach, I'm still learning on that. Like I'm still trying to build ideas, and that will keep on happening. But from my experience, ideas require early feedback as much as possible. So the first step that you would want to do is speak to the most closest person that you can, who can either does not even understand what you are thinking about, or understand sufficient enough to give you feedback, right? Both of them are great, because if no one understands exactly what you're trying to do, and if that idea is great, then that means that you have cracked it, right? Because if that person is also able to understand. And if someone who has some background will give you relevant feedback from a neutral standing. So having that conversation very quickly is important, because ideas are also like thoughts, right? They just come and go, and you might not execute on them. So it's important to speak. And that's where the just being part of a team helps. I think the next thing, after you have kind of validated this seems in the right trajectory, it's important to draw it down somewhere. That's my opinion. Draw it down somewhere in the form of that journey map that I talked about earlier, so that you see that, okay, if this is an idea for, I want to sell something on a platform, right? For example, so how would that look like if I have to realize that in the real world, and maybe just draw it out, even if it's a sketch. What it will do is it will help open your mind to all the constraints and things that you are aware of as a PM, right? So if you have read a lot, if you have read about things in general, read about supply chain in general, you will understand, okay, what all things I'll have to build to make this happen, right? And that's where all the curiosity will pop in and help you bring better sketch of the idea that you're thinking about. So just sketching it out will help. Now, this is just from a very personal effort, right? To get something on paper of what you're thinking.
Yeah.
But in day-to-day role responsibilities, you don't have the leeway of that much time to make this happen. So you try and do very quick feedback and make that sketch with the stakeholders. So you speak to them and tell them, this is what I'm thinking, this is what we need to build. And think about the constraints that you have in the business. So if you are a working employee right now as a PM, then it's important that you also think about how I can break this down. If there is a trajectory towards this idea, either from a revenue side or from a cost side or from a user growth perspective, figure that pivot that you want, that you will able to sell this to the stakeholders and to the business, right? Once you have that pivot clear, then you can break this journey into milestones and try to go towards your team, with your team, with the engineering team, to try and build this idea into a realized product or a feature. Not every time everything is realized to its T, and that's where feedback will help you narrow it down and be more specific or precise to the users. But yeah, just doing this step-by-step process and iterating on this in an efficient manner as per your own intuition will just make you a better PM and better idea for problem solver in general, I guess.
Sure. Awesome. I mean, that was great to know all these insights, and definitely it would be helping people who are coming and watching this video. Definitely, it's going to help them as well. So we are almost done with the session. So here is a quick rapid fire round that we'll move towards. Okay.
Okay.
So what is one of the most used app on your cell phone right now?
For me, it's chess.com. I don't know, for some reason, I just love how easy it is to use. Maybe it's not the most generic answer that you would expect, but I just love that the problem that they want to solve is just keep on playing chess, right? And I am hooked onto it. So yeah, for me, right these days, it's chess.com.
Okay. So what do you prefer mostly? One of the most asked questions, like, what do you prefer, iOS or an Android?
Oh, I'm a Pixel fanboy, so I'm
Okay.
an Android fan.
Android.
All Yeah.
Okay. And is that same similar case with Windows and macOS, or?
Yeah, I think Mac OS is by default a choice for me. I've been working on Mac OS for some time, so it's a bit contradictory, but still,
Okay,
I think
okay,
Mac OS.
okay, definitely. And then your go-to app for going from one place to another, like, or is it Ola or Uber? What do you prefer?
I prefer Ola, just because maybe I'm a bit biased towards the payment solutions they have and just the finance solutions they have. I think Ola has this Ola Money postpaid and all of that. I'm just hooked
Yeah.
on to what they're trying new. So I keep being there on the platform, but that's personally me. And yeah, I like Uber, but I think Ola I just keep on using practically.
And
Yeah.
what's your most used UPI? I mean, is it Google Pay, Phone Pay, Paytm? Like, what's the one that
Yeah,
you?
interestingly, it's Paytm.
Okay.
Paytm has just made it. So one thing I like about Paytm is that they are very iterative. They change their UI, they change their workflows, I think 10 times a year. I've been tracking them for demonetization. So being an avid user since then. And they have made a lot of improvements on just getting it easy for a customer to pay. So I'm just hooked on to Paytm for now. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. I mean, that's it for the day, and thank you so much. I mean, we got to know a lot about your thought process, insights from your learnings, and finally, your day-to-day most used applications as well. And so that was it, and that was all. Thank you, Shans, for being with us and coming onto this platform and sharing your point of view around being a product manager coming from such a different background. Thank you so much, and definitely look forward to connect with you again.
Thanks, Bhavisha. Thanks for it. And I hopefully this is helpful for the community. Bye.
Sure. Thank you.